Local CVS.
Tariffs on foreign goods outlined by President Trump go into effect this week. Trade talks continuing with key countries, including China and India. India is facing 25% hikes and now responding, calling them unjustified. President Trump says he issued the steep tariffs because of India's relationship to Russia and Russian oil imports. Here's ABC's Alex Prechet.
India's response here, it's a pretty detailed 6-point response where they say that they began essentially importing oil from Russia because they say that supplies had been diverted to other trading partners, including the European Union.
Lonnie Anderson, best known for her role on the hit TV series WKRP in Cincinnati, has died. Her publicist said the 79-year-old died Sunday in L.A. after an acute, prolonged illness.
Anderson played the smart, sexy, empowered receptionist Jennifer Marlowe at a struggling radio station. She had to change her hair from brunette to blonde for the role, which she originally turned down.
I liked the show, but I didn't like the role. And so I refused. And I went in and met with Hugh Wilson, who said, let's make her look like Lana Turner and be the smartest person in the room.
She also starred on the big screen in the comedy Stroker Ace with Burt Reynolds, later marrying Reynolds, the two becoming tabloid fixtures.
ABC's Allison Cossack, Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela. Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
4:05 on this Monday afternoon, as we are still under that red flag warning through the rest of the day due to the increased fire danger from these dry temperatures and the winds that have picked up. I'll get to your weather forecast coming up here in just a minute. I will feel right with our top stories. Well, residents gathered at Washington Square Park over the weekend in Salt Lake City to hold what they called a Rage Against the Regime protest. Now, it kicked off with a moment of silence for Afa Alu, who died at a similar protest back in June. Now, organizers had urged attendees to protect each other and avoid bringing weapons. Daniil Taggart, a participant, stressed the importance of continued activism despite community struggles. Now, topics discussed during the protest included ICE operations, concerns over due process, defunding of public media, and politician accountability. Now, protesters called for policy changes through voting and running for office and for community support for immigrants. Well, in other news, the Cache Community Connections honored Carol Fote last week for her dedication to the Noon Interfaith Concert Series, which wrapped up its season last week at the Logan Tabernacle. Now, Wayne Dimmick of Cache Community Connections presented Fote with a gift basket acknowledging her work in organizing 53 concerts and lectures this past summer. Now, Dimmick said that Fote had organized an outstanding program for the community, noting her commitment to providing free, entertaining performances for both locals and summer visitors. Now, Fote, who moved to Cache Valley 11 years ago, has led the series for 4 years. She expressed gratitude for the opportunity to connect with diverse community members through the concerts. Now, Fote said it's been a gift for her to be able to do it, emphasizing the talented local performers and her hope for continued community involvement. Now, she's already planning for the Christmas Noon Interfaith Concert Series that will be coming up in November. And a month-long initiative offering free A1C testing for every blood donation is being offered by the American Red Cross of Utah through August. Now, since diabetes affects 1 in 10 Americans and many cases go undiagnosed, this initiative can provide personal health insights. Now, free A1C testing will be available for all successful blood, platelet, and plasma donations that are made through August 31st. Now, also, a $15 e-gift card will go to each donor giving blood between now and the 28th. Now, to donate blood, donors can schedule an appointment anytime by calling the Red Cross. And that red flag warning remaining in effect through tonight as winds have been out of the southwest, keeping, of course, the risk of fire elevated in this area due to these dry conditions that we've got. Temperatures have been in the low 90s today. Now, tonight will drop into the mid-50s, still with mostly clear skies overnight, and then low 90s to high 80s for tomorrow, and then back up around 93 to 94 degrees on Wednesday. And weather this hour brought to you by Dr. Keith Nilsson. He has over 27 years of experience eliminating pain from sports injuries, arthritis, and knee pain. Contact Dr. Keith Nilsson. Find out about his Omnibotic knee replacement system. It boasts a 97% patient satisfaction rate. It's Dr. Keith Nilsson. And I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Headlines.
Feeling the heat? So is your lawn. Logan Extermination's Summer Back to Green treatment helps your grass bounce back from summer stress, starting at just $45 for up to 5,000 square feet. And bugs? Nope, not this July. Get Logan Extermination's Outside General Insect Spray, regularly $75, now just $60 for up to 2,000 square feet. Just mention this ad when you schedule. Call Logan Extermination at 752-8450. Online at loganextermination.net, a division of Anderson Seed and Garden.
News Talk KVNU.
Tire prices got you in a tailspin? Take a deep breath because Discount Tire and Automotive has your back with their 49th anniversary sale. Right now, save up to $249 with a free alignment when you buy any 4 Michelin or BF Goodrich tires. That's real savings on the brands you trust. And we're making it easier than ever to get the tires you need with flexible financing options like 12 months no interest, layaway, and no credit check financing. Don't forget, you're always protected by our guaranteed lowest tire prices, period. No gimmicks, just honest deals from the team you trust. Book your service or shop online anytime at webtires.net or swing by Discount Tire and Automotive, celebrating 49 years of savings and service with 3 convenient locations in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield.
Discount Tire, so much more than a tire store.
Owning a business may be stressful, but insuring it doesn't have to be. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. Our experienced agents have been in the industry for many years and understand the challenges you face. As an independent agency, we have access to multiple carriers, like Auto Owners Insurance, to ensure you get the policy that's right for your company. Let's give your business insurance a fresh look. Call us today, 435-752-0101.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is Monday, August 4th. 88 degrees here at the Radio Ranch, 4:11 in the afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, construction fraud. It's a growing problem here in Utah, and it's so well documented at this point that the state is trying to do something about it. We'll talk about what they're trying to do and what options they have, which, to be honest with you, are plentiful, but also kind of revealing in some of their proposed solutions coming both through the legislature and consumer protection agencies here in Utah, really reveal what the fraud is all about, how it's happening, and why it's happening. So we'll talk about that later on in the hour. Also, the Great Salt Lake, a lot of concern about this. House Speaker Mike Schultz over the weekend calling for a special session of the Utah legislature sometime within the next 30 days in order to address this in some way. The legislature under fire during the session, the last 2 sessions actually, for not doing much when it comes to new water legislation, saying that they preferred to kind of ride on what they had done already in previous sessions and see how it panned out. Well, it didn't pan out well, and now they're calling for a special session. Whether that happens or not, this is just the House Speaker. The Senate President has to get on board as well, and they prefer that the governor gets on board, though that is not required anymore here in Utah after, for whatever reason, we, voters, gave them that power. We shouldn't have, but we did. So they can call themselves into special session without the governor now anytime they want to declare an emergency. This probably qualifies as a legitimate reason for a special session. Although, again, I'm sympathetic with those angry with the legislature for not just tackling some of this during the general sessions. The last two, they haven't done much. Again, wanting to kind of sit back and see if what they'd done so far made a big difference. But many experts were telling them it wasn't enough, and that if we entered another drought year, we were going to be in trouble. And, well, the experts, again, were right. So, but we'll talk about what options the legislature has and what Schultz had to say in his announcement over the weekend that he was calling for the special session to address the current emergency surrounding the Great Salt Lake and toxic metals in the air from exposed lake bed, primarily the focus of this. So it's pretty windy out there. You heard from Will during the news break there. We are under a red flag warning until this evening. It may get extended depending on what the weather does. Red flag warning means it's hot, it's dry, and we've got wind. So whenever it's hot and dry, there's always concern about a wildfire, because it's easy to start one when it's hot and dry, and they burn pretty well when it's hot and dry. You throw a little wind on top of that, and it becomes a statewide concern. And this really is something to take seriously. The governor on July 31st declared a state of emergency in Utah due to the aggressive wildfires we already had burning on July 31st, or up to July 31st. So the governor on July 31st signed an executive order and declared a 30-day state of emergency in the state of Utah. This is the governor declaring a state of emergency serves two purposes. It gets attention. It gets the public's attention. It gets us all talking about it in the media, and that's good because they want people to know, right, that this is an emergency, that this is serious. But it also, once a state of emergency is declared, it triggers certain federal funding processes. So there are some questions right now. You know, a lot of changes at the federal level is a nice way to put it over the last several months. And wildfire funding has been put on hold in a lot of different ways, including, staffing money. Some agencies in some western states are reporting some struggles on that front because of questions and unanswered questions at the federal level on where the money is or if it's coming. So that kind of throws a little bit of a kink in this. But on July 31st, the governor said Utah has experienced already in 2025, has experienced 693 fires, and about 115,000 acres have been burned. On July 31st, the four largest active fires alone account for more than 100,000 of those burned acres, and suppression costs have already surpassed $100 million across local, state, and federal agencies, the governor said. 22 red flag warning days so far in 2025, marked by high winds, low humidity, and critical dry fuels, hot temperatures as well. That qualifies as a red flag warning day, and we've had 22 of them so far this year. The governor said this underscores the extreme conditions firefighters are facing, and these challenges follow record low snowpack and precipitation that extended the warm, dry period in much of the state. So, translation, we're kind of right back where we were in 21 and 22, more so in 2021. But again, in 2022 with some extreme drought conditions and the snowpack. So now, if you remember here in Utah, we did pretty well on snowpack. As far as, that coming out of the winter snowpack. But snowpack is great at a certain point, and 2 weeks later can be different. And so the Utah Division of Water Resources has declared that about 85% of Utah right now, looking at snowpack, which peaked on March 23rd. That was when Utah hit its peak, and things started dwindling after March 23rd. And we haven't had significant precipitation since then. So currently right now, 85% of the state is in a designated drought situation. Here in northern Utah, our snowpack, again, coming out of the winter, our snowpack was pretty decent, and it's dipped, to say the least. So if you'd like to see some of the maps, I've linked to them on our Facebook page, but give you an example, the Weber Ogden area, we came out of the winter, they were at 98% of normal, and they're currently sitting at 51% of normal. So that just gives you an idea of how dry things around here. We're still sitting in the 60s, so a little better here. Southern Utah, just don't look. Southern Utah is in trouble. Their reservoirs are being siphoned quickly with very little refilling them. And they've already got a general water problem down there as well. But it is a desert. And I saw there was the Washington County Water District manager over the weekend on the official account was tweeting out calls for residents to only water their lawn every other day, which is great advice. That's cutting your water usage to 50% if you only water every other day. But it also kind of exposes how, to be blunt, how ridiculous our water usage is in a way. It's such a desert in southern Utah that to keep lawns green, they have to water every day. That's a lot of water usage. And so why not have the lawn? And then, of course, that starts a whole debate over golf courses and more, which are a huge part of, St. George City's economy and revenue. It draws, conferences and tourists in. They make a lot of money to keep paying, that money goes towards paying for roads and fire departments and things like that. So there's no easy solution to any of this, but that did just stand out to me because that sounds so foreign to those of us living here in northern Utah, and it really highlights how much water they need to use to keep lawns green and keep landscaping alive in southern Utah. And maybe we should have a conversation about how much water that requires and whether that's just smart. But back to the governor's designation. On July 31st, when he made the executive order official, the governor said heroic efforts are underway as firefighters and emergency personnel work around the clock in many areas to save homes and neighborhoods. We're mobilizing every tool at our disposal to support them and keep Utahns safe. The executive order activates the State of Emergency Operations Plan, part of the Utah Department of Public Safety's general guidelines for the chain of authority and things like that, and authorizes the deployment of the Utah National Guard if needed. On Friday, August 1st, Governor Cox will travel to Monroe Canyon Fire, and he did. There were some photos of that. An example of what the governor's talking about, just over the weekend, a campground in around Utah Lake was evacuated due to a wildfire. So the fires are burning that close to where people are. This wasn't way out in the middle of nowhere. It's a pretty serious situation. So as for the designation itself, it doesn't trigger any automatic additional fire restrictions, but it does signal to county fire chiefs and marshals that they probably want to get on that. And Cache County Fire Chief Brady George wasted no time. They're very organized, the Cache County Fire. And just yesterday, the new fire restrictions went into place here in northern Utah. And Cache County Fire Chief Brady George said the restrictions basically just extend the current restrictions, further prohibiting the use of fires. Originally, it was in improved campgrounds in certain areas. You can still have fires at this point. Easiest way to understand the new fire restrictions: don't have a fire. That's the easiest way to understand the new fire restrictions. The prohibited right now are the use of fires on all state lands and unincorporated private lands. They also recommend, of course, you be careful if you're grinding or welding. Mowing the lawn started a fire in Salt Lake a few weeks ago that burned an apartment complex, and it was a city worker who did it, a city worker whose job it was to go out and mow some of these areas. I don't know if the mower clipped a rock, or that's all it took, though. Just a lawnmower mowing through a patch of grass sparked a fire, and it burned an apartment complex. So not saying don't mow your lawn, but maybe think about when you're doing it, and maybe wait a day till the winds die down, at least. And in addition to the fire restrictions, some of the things that are new, George said that, again, this is for northern Utah, George said, building, maintaining, attending, or using a fire or campfire is prohibited, period. That includes charcoal grills on state lands or unincorporated private lands even, pellet grills, any ash-producing fuel. And then George reminded that you should properly shield gas or liquid fuel portable camp stoves. They produce enough heat that nearby grasses can actually catch off of that. It doesn't seem possible, but it happens. And it happens every summer here in Utah almost. So even those liquid or gas-fueled portable camp stoves produce a lot of heat and even the occasional spark. And so make sure they're shielded well. And again, while it's windy like this, maybe just don't. So George said, as long as they are at least 3 feet in diameter of clearance between the source of flammable vegetation, you're okay on those portable camp stoves, but still be careful. And finally, the new limitations are in addition to restrictions that were already in place as of the first part of June. And that already prohibited smoking outside of a vehicle or a building, and no cutting, welding, or grinding in dry vegetation, and no operating equipment like motorcycles, ATVs, even chainsaws, and any internal combustion engine that can throw a spark or have heat on the manifold without a working spark arrestor. So, and I bring this up every time we mention that part, but there was a pretty big fire in Saratoga Springs several years ago that resulted from, it was an event, a wedding or something, I don't remember, but there were people they'd opened a gate and were allowing people to drive into this mowed field. It wasn't even tall grass, it was a mowed field, and they were letting them park in there to attend this event that was happening outside in a nearby backyard, and the catalytic converter off of one of those cars sparked a wildfire, burned 3 cars, and then started up the hillside, and it was a good 10 days of firefighting to get that one under control. So, yeah, take this pretty seriously. This isn't the end, by the way. If conditions continue to worsen, the state also has what they call a Stage 3 fire restrictions. And Stage 3 fire restrictions, things get, pretty restricted, to say the least. So I don't know if we'll get there, but it's a possibility. So there you have it. There's the lay of the land as we continue on through a red flag warning day. And again, this will mark the official, this will mark the, I'm going to do the math here myself instead of go off the governor's number. So this will be the 23rd red flag warning day of 2025. So it's pretty hot. It's pretty dry out there. The governor also reminded in his announcement about the state of emergency here in Utah, said wildfire season remains in full force and conditions are very extreme. And so far this year, 72% of Utah's wildfires have been human caused. So to put that another way, 72% of the almost 700 wildfires that have burned 115,000 acres as of July 31st could have been avoided. We'll be back right after this.
Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
July is the month of backyard barbecues, fireworks, and parades. With all the hustle and bustle, it's important to remember the true reason for celebration: independence. At Primrose Home Care and Hospice, we're devoted to helping you and your loved ones stay independent. Our bodies experience lots of changes in our lives, but that doesn't mean we have to change our life. Primrose is dedicated to helping you maintain a healthy, active lifestyle so you don't have to give anything up. After all, independence is our way of life. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
All right, dads, let's test your knowledge. Ready? What does this sound? Some of the more experienced parents recognize it as the sound a young teenager makes when he's done something he regrets. Listen. Kind of a sad sound, isn't it? But if you recognized it, then you know exactly what to do. Listen, because that's when together you can both figure out how not to make the same mistake again.
This message from The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Kids today live in a world full of social pressure, bullying, and substance abuse. LEAD has a solution. LEAD connects law enforcement agencies with schools to deliver tested, proven, and effective anti-drugs and violence training to kids. Learn more about LEAD, Law Enforcement Against Drugs and Violence, and our work to create safer, healthier communities at leadrugs.org or on social media at We Are LEAD. Sponsored by LEAD, Inc.
I'm Mike Gavin in for Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. The Lone Star State is shaping up to have a bigger than Texas-sized role in national politics next year. We'll tell you why. Plus, for Americans on the doorstep of retirement, there's one obstacle they're most worried about climbing over. We'll talk about it and find out what you can do to put yourself in a better position. And is an old-fashioned really an old-fashioned without Kentucky bourbon? All that and more Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News.
From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
While we're on the topic of wildfires and drought and red flag warning days and all of that, it's hot, it's dry, it's windy. Just don't start a fire. Don't burn anything. Don't spark anything. Just give it a rest. And if you can for the rest of the summer, but at least today or any other future red flag days that pop up. And that, again, that includes, I'm not trying to create panic here, but if you've got an area that you mow regularly that's pretty dry, maybe hold off a bit. Big fire in Salt Lake that burned an apartment complex sparked by a city employee mowing weeds. It's that dry out there, and that's Salt Lake. So House Speaker Mike Schultz, though, over the weekend called for a special session regarding the Great Salt Lake. Until now, Speaker Schultz, a Republican lawmaker from Hooper, has put a pause on all major water issues and bills. That's for the last 2 legislative sessions, and he's taken a lot of flack for that because people have said, look, what you did wasn't enough. You know that. We know that. Just because we had a couple of good winters, or at least 1.5, doesn't mean, it's not irresponsible to continue working on this. Well, Schultz he's kind of acknowledging that he was wrong at this point, putting a pause or calling for a pause on all major water issues and bills over the last 2 sessions. So he's calling for he's asked for, there are 2 options here. The legislature can have a special session in August, or they can just add this to the agenda for an already planned special session that's likely going to take place sometime end of September, early October. But he said over the weekend, I think it's time to revisit this, to which a lot of people said, you think? But some of the things specifically that he wants the legislature to tackle, we talked with Brian Steed about this, and we'll do that again soon. In fact, I reached out to them today, and they weren't available for this week, but we'll make something happen next week. Steed is, of course, overseeing the Quinney Institute of Land, Water, and Air at Utah State University, but he's also, he has an official title, but everybody knows him, and he's referred to frequently in the media as the Great Salt Lake Czar, appointed by Governor Cox to oversee several task forces working on, rescuing the Great Salt Lake from what is, without some kind of action, a pretty clear fate, which is the disappearance of the Great Salt Lake and a lot of arsenic in our air from the exposed lake bed getting churned up by wind like we're seeing today. So it's a big deal. Loss of the Great Salt Lake, of course, changes our entire ecology and could even change migratory bird routes, which means, get to love those grasshoppers. Anyway, even in the off years. But Schultz said it's time to revisit this. He said, we've got this berm management plan that we're looking at for sure. We've got some distribution plans we can look at. There are things we passed that we know are working, and maybe they need to be beefed up a little bit. One example, he didn't mention this specifically in his remarks, but there is a trigger law that the legislature passed 3 years ago that says if the lake reaches a certain water elevation level, a certain level of dryness, these automatic restrictions go into place for the 2 or 3 industries that are extractive regarding lake water. That's, there's salt mining, there's brine shrimp, there's a few different things that are done there, and all of them consume a lot of water to extract. And so efforts have been made to incentivize them, investing, and most of them have already, investing in putting that water back in. One of the companies, for example, said they'd already cut their water usage this year by 50% before the lake levels triggered the automatic restriction on their water use. So Schultz wants to also authorize the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands to raise the Great Salt Lake Causeway berm. The berm separates the north and south arms of the lake, and it's to about 4,100 feet, and that's currently almost 3 feet higher than the lake level currently is. And so that cuts the north and the south arms of the lake. It bifurcates the lake, and that can lead to the south arm becomes a damaged ecosystem very quickly. And so they're talking about, different water management plans that could avoid that. And I don't know what really specifically they'll talk about. But Schultz suggested raising the berm. Lynn DeFreitas of the environmental group Friends of the Great Salt Lake said it's probably not only a good idea, but long overdue. They've been lobbying the legislature on that for 2 years and been frustrated, she said, by Schultz's unwillingness to take up big water bills. So she's glad to see him finally seeing the light, she said. She said, it's a good recognition. We still have a lot of work as far as maintaining what we need to do for the south arm of the lake especially, but the entire lake, of course, where we have this greater ecological viability, where we have north arm resource potential, more water oftentimes on the north arm. So the special session where Schultz isn't calling this an emergency, the special session will have to be called by Governor Cox unless Schultz or the Speaker, Senate President Stuart Adams decide to call an emergency themselves. Then they can call a special session themselves. But that's expected that Governor Cox will be calling that. There will be other legislative agenda items too on this, but Schultz is saying either a direct special session for Great Salt Lake measures, and due to the current situation of the lake, and then that could be an independent special session in August. It can be added to the late September, early October special session. He wasn't specific on that. He just said it needs to happen. By the way, public opinion surveys have shown that the Great Salt Lake is a growing concern among Utahns. The majority of Utahns are concerned about it, but that majority has gone from roughly high 60s to low 80s on a number of people who are worried about the lake. Schultz did take some time to defend his decision to pause all water bills for the last 2 sessions, and insisted to the reporters on hand at the press conference Saturday that what's called the Great Salt Lake Collaborative, that's a group of media outlets that have teamed up when it comes to the Great Salt Lake, at least, and said, none of us want to see our lake gone. Don't read my pause that way. I just felt like we should wait and see if what we'd done did any good, and now we have our answer. It wasn't enough. By the way, Utah State Engineer Teresa Wilhelmsen was interviewed over the weekend in response to this by Fox 13 News, and she said that about 160,000 acre-feet of water has now been tracked. I don't know how they do that, as making it to the lake. 160,000 acre-feet that would have normally been diverted has been redirected to the lake, and that's happening as so information being made public on this too, and where you can see it yourself, waterrights.utah.gov. That's either people relinquishing voluntarily water rights, or through this kind of convoluted system, leasing water rights that aren't in use, usually held by those in agriculture, and saying, okay, we'll temporarily buy those water rights from you. You still own them, but we'll own them for a few years. And in those few years, we're not going to use them. So that water continues on down the canals and streams to the lake. And that 160,000 acre feet is pretty significant. But again, not enough. So there's the state of things. Again, Brian Steed or our good friend Anna McIntyre, one of the two, will join us likely next week on the show to talk about the actual science behind all this, why there's this renewed urgency to saving the Great Salt Lake. But easy answer, it's pretty dry out there. We'll be back after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Thank you, Jason. A swift-moving grass fire ignited by welding in dry grass burned approximately 2 acres and threatened nearby structures in Tremonton on Sunday before firefighters were able to bring it under control. The Garland Fire Department assisted Tremonton fire crews who arrived to find the blaze rapidly advancing and jumping a canal propelled by moderate winds toward heavier vegetation. Now, firefighters successfully contained the fire, preventing further spread and reportedly saving a barn that was housing 4-H animals. Now, fire officials confirmed the cause was a resident who was welding in dry grass. They urged the public to be fire smart, advising against welding or grinding near dry vegetation. They also stressed the importance of clearing a 10-foot radius before doing any sort of hot work and keeping a fire extinguisher or hose nearby, and avoiding hot work during high winds and never leaving a work area unattended until it is cooled to the touch. Now, Garland officials said that everyone needs to do their part to prevent wildfires and protect the safety of neighbors, first responders, and natural resources. Well, scary moments on Bear Lake Saturday morning as 6 people, including 2 children, were rescued after their boat caught fire approximately 3/4 of a mile north of the Bear Lake State Park Marina. Now, the Rich County Public Safety 911 Center received the report at about 10:30. Authorities are now investigating whether gas fumes in the engine compartment may have caused the blaze on the 22-foot Malibu boat. Now, the Rich County Sheriff's Office said that all 4 adults and 2 children on board jumped into the water. Nearby boaters quickly came to their aid and rescued everyone. Now, no injuries were reported. The children were all wearing life jackets, and the adults were able to put theirs on while in the water. And a fire early yesterday significantly damaged at least 1 unit in a row of townhomes that was under construction in Ogden. Now, Ogden City Fire Department crews were dispatched to the townhome fire early Sunday morning around 12:30. Now, upon arrival, firefighters found flames and smoke coming from an interior townhouse. The affected unit sustained significant damage with its roof collapsing. Now, an adjoining unit also saw a partial roof collapse. Chief Michael Slater stated that crews quickly were able to apply water, preventing the fire from spreading to several other units. Now, the townhouses were unoccupied at the time of the blaze. Nearly 24 firefighters, assisted by the Weber Fire District, responded to that scene. Damage is estimated to be at over $1.6 million. Well, a red flag warning remains in effect for northern Utah. In fact, a good portion of the state today, as we're continuing to see some southwesterly winds. And of course, that can cause increased fire danger due to sparks igniting and then being driven by these dry winds. We're going to continue to see hot temperatures through the rest of the day, as we've been into the low 90s today. Tonight we'll drop into the mid 50s, and then a little cooler weather coming tomorrow. Highs expected Tuesday around the high 80s, but we'll be back into the 90s for Wednesday, and it looks like we'll stay there through Thursday. And weather this hour brought to you by Quality First Insurance. If you're struggling with your employee benefit package and you need options, call Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, 752-0101. It's Quality First Insurance. And I'm Will Theoright with your KVNU News headlines.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Texas Republicans have approved a resolution to issue arrest warrants for state Democrats who didn't convene for the special session today, leaving the House without a quorum. Texas Democrats are protesting the redistricting of congressional maps that would give Republicans 5 new seats. But most Democrats have left Texas and are in Democratic-led states. Texas State Representative Mihaela Plesha is in New York and accused Republicans of gerrymandering.
The fight isn't just about lines on a map. It's about lives on the line. That's why we're here. That's why we're fighting. It's about democracy.
The Texas governor can fine the state lawmakers each day they fail to show up for the special session. In the U.S., 39 fires now burning across 13 states, with new wildfires flaring up in California's Riverside County today. Another fire has charred more than 65,000 acres in the Los Padres Forest in Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties. On Wall Street, stocks closed higher today.
My neighbor stopped by the other day to borrow a torque wrench, and he said, "How does your house stay so cool in this heat?" I'll tell you what I told him. Call Cardall's Insulation and get your insulation checked. I'm serious. That's what I did, and I can't believe the difference it has made in our home. Or maybe you just want to insulate your garage or an attic. Call Cardall's. When you call Cardall's, make sure to ask them about the $1,200 tax credit. 755-5012. Or look them up online. Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, I'm Mitch Green with Adams Wealth Advisors. On Monday, markets closed the day recovering most of their losses from last Friday as investors bet on sooner and larger Federal Reserve rate cuts. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 584 points to close at 44,174. The NASDAQ rose 1.87% to 23,189. The S&P 500 gained 1.47% to finish at 6,330, and the small cap Russell 2000 index advanced 2.1% to 2,212. Sectors showed a significant rebound, with only energy posting a small loss of 0.22%, while all other sectors saw modest gains. On a side note, Utah-based Zions Bank Corporation rallied by 1.31% today. The bond market also rallied, reflecting stronger conviction in a September rate cut. The 5-year Treasury yield decreased by 2 basis points to 3.75%. The 10-year yield dropped by 2 basis points to 4.2%, and the 30-year yield fell by 1 basis point to 4.8%. Economic data came in mixed. Durable goods orders, excluding defense, fell by 9.41%, in line with expectations. Factory orders performed slightly better than anticipated, declining by 4.8%. Total vehicle sales exceeded expectations at 16.4 million units. On a geopolitical note, former President Donald Trump threatened to substantially raise tariffs on Indian exports to the U.S. over India's continued purchases of Russian oil. This follows last week's announcement of a 25% tariff on Indian goods. The warning comes ahead of an August 8 deadline for Russia to reach a truce with Ukraine. Tomorrow, we'll get ISM Services PMI, S&P Final Services PMI, and U.S. trade data, important indicators to help assess the state of the economy.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Searching for something fun to do with the whole family? Look no further than the Cache County Fair and Rodeo, where there's something for everyone. The carnival and vendors open at 4 p.m. every day. There's always something exciting happening at the Cache County Fair, with livestock shows and entertainment happening all the time. Bring the family to the rodeo every night, starting at 8 p.m. Each night has its own exciting theme and specialty acts. Our rodeo announcer, Reed Flake, will be there every night to bring the rodeo fun. I'm Abby Spencer, your Cache County Fair and Rodeo queen, and I'm so excited to see you all there.
Come on out, let's have some fun at the Cache County Fair.
Welcome back to KVN News for the people. I don't have, I guess, much to say about this. It's just kind of interesting and a direct reaction to the current climate around immigration. But BYU announced today, I don't think anybody saw this coming, but BYU just, everybody's having a calm day, and BYU Office of Belonging they call it, just said, we're going to announce this. But they're starting a set of immigration law courses. They're working with a pro-immigration group called NOMAS that is primarily focused around dreamers, people who were born here, though their parents may not have been legal immigrants. They were born here, and so they are. And BYU is going to be working with NOMAS to create a tool set, basically, for, quote, navigating immigration law. But this is geared towards non-lawyers. This isn't part of the law school program or pre-law program or anything like that. This is for all students and even the community. They have even invited state lawmakers to join in. But in the statement today released by BYU, it said they acknowledge immigration law is complex and confounding, and that every administration, whether it's Biden or Trump or going all the way back to Clinton and Bush, has a different approach to immigration, and so the rules change, the levels of enforcement change, or where the enforcement's happening change, and oftentimes it's difficult for people to understand what their rights are and also what current American immigration law actually is, or how it's being interpreted by courts even. So that's the goal of this. Again, from the statement, Brigham Young University's Office of Belonging, teaming up with NOMAS and the BYU Continuing Education Group, they said this is an effort to empower people more with practical understandings of immigration law and their rights. And so they're calling this the Fundamentals of Immigration Law course, and it's a set of courses, actually. It's an online course. It will be available soon and is designed to equip participants with knowledge and experiences in immigration law and initial steps to becoming a partially accredited representative, which you can actually do through the Department of Justice. So this could turn into a career for someone, but it's also geared for those who just want to know more about their rights or how to navigate the system, things like that. So, again, it was developed with NOMAS is No More a Stranger Foundation. It's a Utah-based organization, mainly attorneys and volunteers. It's a nonprofit group, and they advocate on behalf of individuals from the immigrant, migrant, and refugee communities here in Utah, representing them in various ways. So BYU says by the end of the course, participants will have a basic understanding of immigration citizenship laws and visas, and the skills to be able to work with clients as advisors, not legally as an attorney, of course, to help them prepare applications and petitions for citizenship and more. And once successfully completed, again, the course participants actually have the option to work as an accredited representative of the Department of Justice. That's not new. The Department of Justice has done this forever, but this is the first time that a school in Utah will actually offer a direct route into those careers. So, according to the BYU Office of Belonging, in their overview video and statement they put out today, said throughout this course we will explore legal principles and frameworks that impact individuals, families, and communities right here in Utah, enabling us to follow the example of the Savior, Jesus Christ, in serving others. We will also demonstrate how this course aligns with BYU's Office of Belonging, emphasizing a commitment to extending Christ-like service and ensuring ethical and compassionate legal immigration services. So check it out. Full details on this and the video that came with the statement I've linked to both on our Facebook page. And we'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People, talk about an interesting study showing that Gen Z, much to everyone's predictions, or despite everyone's predictions, Gen Z is shopping offline as much as baby boomers did, but for entirely different reasons. It's cool stuff. We'll be back right after this.
Tee it high and let it fly for a great cause. The annual Patriot Day Golf Tournament hosted by the Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce is back Friday, September 12th at Logan River Golf Course. Grab your favorite golfing buddy and sign up to enjoy a day on the green with door prizes, patriotism, and a powerful purpose. Proceeds support a local veterans organization. Spots fill fast, so swing into action and secure your team today. Visit cashchamber.com to register. That's cashchamber.com. Let's drive it home for those who've served.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking. Now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. We will break down the absolute latest, the ongoing tariff battles as the official return of Liberation Day, August edition, moves closer and closer. Plus, with the Senate on a recess, what do we expect to see when it comes to getting all of the nominations confirmed? Tuesday edition, Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
And you can dance. And you can dance. For inspiration.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Coming up in hour 2, Utah home construction fraud on the rise to an alarming extent, and that's caught the attention of both state agencies in the business of protecting consumers, as well as state lawmakers. So this might be something that pops up in the special session as well. We'll see. But we'll talk about that in hour 2. A study from, 2 different studies showing that Gen Z, despite everyone's predictions about millennials and now Gen Z, it's not manifesting that, there would be no such thing as brick and mortar retail in 10 years. I remember hearing that actually about 15 years ago. And with Amazon really taking off and you can order things and have them show up at your house the next day for, just the small cost of a huge carbon footprint. Which relates, by the way. But Gen Z, the study shows, the 2 studies show, is shopping offline as much as baby boomers did. They're going to physical retail stores as much. Well, one study says as much as, another says more than baby boomers currently are. One study says more than baby boomers, or as much as baby boomers ever did. The other study says they're actually shopping in brick and mortar, in-person retail experiences. They're seeking those right now more than baby boomers are. Baby boomers still alive are shopping online more than the kids that grew up never knowing a world offline. But why is really interesting. And there are a couple of different reasons. We'll talk about both of those stories in hour 2 of today's show. So before we break for hour 2, I just want to remind everyone that on Wednesday we are dedicating the entire show to Ignite the Light. Now, this is going to take place Thursday night at the Cache County Fair. Ignite the Light has always been an independent kind of festival-like event happening at the fairgrounds. This year, the county decided to combine the two, to throw Ignite the Light into the county fair schedule. So Thursday night at the Cache County Fair is Ignite the Light, suicide awareness and prevention, as well as just general discussions about mental health. They've got guest speakers. They've got representatives from everything from Bear River Health Department to Cache Valley Counseling, and also some resources from the state that are part of this. Local nonprofits will be highlighted and talked about. And, of course, this all happens around music and fun and the Cache County Fair. So that's Thursday night at the fair. The day before, Wednesday, here in the studio, both hours of our show we're going to dedicate to a preview of this. We'll be speaking with Margaret Gittens of Cache County, and the Ignite the Light Committee will be speaking with Jill MacArthur of Bear River Health Department. She's the suicide prevention coordinator there. We'll be speaking with Chelsea Peterson of Cache Valley Counseling. So we'll have several guests back-to-back, basically, here in the studio from 4 to 6 on Wednesday as part of our effort to help ignite the light. And then, of course, the actual events kick off around 4 p.m. Thursday afternoon at the Cache County Fair. And again, this is a multi-years now, the county doing prevention and awareness efforts, but also connecting it with fun and music and food. And it's a perfect fit for the Cache County Fair. So be a part of this, both at the fair Thursday night, starting at 4, but also in our studio the day before, Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Our entire show will have dedicated to Ignite the Light with special guests in the studio back to back. So, all right. Coming up in hour 2, again, some new data has state regulators and Consumer Protection Agency very concerned. It shows that home fraud construction in Utah is exploding. There are some questions as to what can be done about this. Are the rules strict enough? Are the enforcement mechanisms strict enough? Does the state need more inspectors, both contract license inspectors, but also general job site inspectors? Big discussion coming on this one. We'll talk about why the data has caused the alarm. And then again, 2 different studies, a month apart, showing that Gen Z is shopping offline as much as, or as one study suggests, more than baby boomers. But the reasons why are even more interesting. That's coming up in hour 2 of today's show, right after this, here on KVNU Logan.
Your voice for news and talk is right here on your radio. Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU Logan.